Right guys, welcome back to the channel. So I wanted to make a quick video today, and I know that it's going to be controversial. You can probably see by the title that this is going to be a very unpopular opinion. So I think Liverpool could finish third, possibly even fourth in the 20 to 21 Premier League season. Now I'm looking here at the table. This is just the screen recording, but I'm looking at the table. And if you look at how far Liverpool won the league by, and I understand why some of you will probably think that I'm nuts for having such an opinion. But when you take a deeper look at it, I think that this season just gone was the perfect storm for this Liverpool side. And I am a Man United fan, so there might be a little bit of bias there, but I like to think that I'm quite objective about these things. And I don't sort of hate Liverpool irrationally. Obviously, I don't want them to do well. They are a rival club. But I can admit they've been better than Man United now for pretty much since Ferguson left. They've overall been a much better side than us. If you take their average finishing position and what they've won versus what we've won, they are a better team than us, going off current standards. But here's the thing. They've been very good now for 2 years in a row. You know, even probably 2.5 years in a row. After they signed Virgil van Dijk in January, and they've been really good ever since that. And I don't think it's because of it's not because they're an incredible footballing side. They haven't got loads of really good individual players, but they've got a great system in place. But here's the thing. Here's my biggest point, and we've seen this throughout the history of the Premier League and even other leagues, but the Premier League in particular because it's more competitive than all the other leagues. Systems don't last that long. They don't. You have to refresh them. Football is a generational thing. I believe that it goes in sort of 3-year cycles. After 3 years, you have to refresh. After 3 years, the team becomes old, jaded, especially the style that Liverpool play. If you look at Liverpool's style, it's very high energy, high intensity. And that's a credit to Jurgen Klopp and the way that he's got them playing. However, you can't just keep doing that, especially with the same collection of players, more or less, that he's been doing it with for the last 2 to 3 years. Like, he's got a very similar selection of players there, and none of them are that young. Like, I've got a little tab here. So you've got the Liverpool squad, and this is the player ages. If we scroll back to the very beginning, I mean, look at the amount of... Their whole squad is not this old, but if you look at the amount of their key players, so like their best players, that are 28 to 29, so you've got like Jordan Henderson and Wijnaldum. Like, Wijnaldum's very close approaching 30, Jordan Henderson is 30, Virgil van Dijk's 29, Firmino's 28, Mane and Salah are both 28. And yeah, you've got a few people that are a bit younger. Like, obviously, Fabinho's got a few years left, Robertson's got a few years left, and you know, Alexander-Arnold is obviously right down here, 21. But they're not a young team overall. Like, you need to look at their very best players, and then you look at these two here, Sadio Mane, Mohamed Salah. They're both players that rely on physical ability to a degree. So they're not gonna be able to do what they've been doing forever. They're not. So if you look at their squad, and then you look at this table, I believe when Man City won the league, so this is the 18-19 season, I believe this Liverpool team that played this season was better than this Liverpool team that won the league in this season. I know that sounds an outrageous thing to say, but just break it down. If we just break it down for a second, look at the next highest points here. The whole Premier League was better. Man City were a much better side. They finished ahead of Liverpool, 98 points. Chelsea, much better side, 72 points. Tottenham, much better side. Man United finished on exactly the same points this season, 6th. Finished on the same points, 19 to 20, 3rd. So it's clear just from the points totals that overall, this Premier League here was not very competitive. Like, Man City getting 81 points with the team that they had was just outrageous. Like, their team was shit. They should have been beaten more often than they were, but you had teams down here like Arsenal and Tottenham that were just awful, that are going to be better in the next season. So these teams here, Wolves, Tottenham, Arsenal, they're all going to strengthen, and they're going to take points off the top guys. So that includes Manchester United. Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool. They are going to take points off of those teams. So going back to Liverpool's squad age, I do think this is going to be a year. I'm not going to say they're going to fall off a cliff, but I think they will be worse. Like, COVID has hit them quite hard, as I understand it. Financially, they're not in the best place. They can't afford to get replacements for some of these players. They can't afford to strengthen their squad. The midfield's not the best anyway. You know, they might get Alcantara, and that would mitigate that issue somewhat. But I don't think Alcantara is now a deep-lying central midfielder. What they need is someone that plays closer to the box, that's more creative. Like Thiago Alcantara, I don't think he's going to change their team. He's not going to change their team and their system and the way that they play. Whereas with Manchester United, if you look at their squad age, it's completely different. Like, Man United have more old players than Liverpool, but if you look at all of these guys, how many of these players get in the first team? Matic, even that's arguable because of Van der Beek. David De Gea, he's a goalkeeper, so, you know, he could go on for 10 years. Chris Smalling gone, Igalo not going to get in there. Phil Jones not anywhere near the team. But then you look at some of the other players, like Paul Pogba, Harry Maguire, Lindelof, Fernandes, Anthony Martial, still only 24, Rashford, 22. You obviously got Mason Greenwood back here somewhere. There we go, 18 years old. And we just brought in Donny van der Beek, 23. 23. So our team is a team that's on the rise. Liverpool's team is a team that is in its prime, but is going to decline at some point soon. And I believe that point is going to be this season. So as an overall prediction for the 20 to 21 season, I'm going to say that Liverpool finish third, Man City will finish fourth, with Chelsea and Manchester United battling it out for the title. And yeah, it's an unpopular opinion, but let me just explain something. So Manchester United, since lockdown, everyone says that they need to strengthen a lot and they've only finished third and whatever. But this was before January, before Bruno Fernandes came into the team. This was a different team. So when we look at the position we finished in the league, which was third, and then we look at the points total, which was 66, it's not very good. You have to realise that half of that was with no Fernandes, no Pogba, Martial was out for 2 months, Rashford was out for 3 months. Like, what if we have a whole season of just these players fit? And that's not taking into consideration any additions that we're going to make. We've already made an acquisition of Van der Beek. So Van der Beek's going to strengthen that midfield even further. Like, we're going to have the ball all the time. All the time. Like, Scott McTominay, I like him, passionate player, not going to get anywhere near our side. Because he was one of the mainstays before January happened. He was. So our team just looks a lot better and it's ready to kick on. We're not a team in transition anymore. We're a team that has found our identity, and all we need is a couple more quality additions. We need a right winger, we need a centre-back, and then we are title contenders, whatever anyone says. Now, I know that on paper people don't think that, but we need to look at what's happened before. When we had our most successful run, which was under Ferguson, so 06-07 started, and people still thought that teams like Chelsea and Arsenal would be much stronger than us. They already thought that because players like Michael Carrick and Darren Fletcher, no one thought these players to be world class, but they were a lot better than people thought they were. And then that improved. We strengthened the squad over the next 2 to 3 years. We made it. We won the Champions League, and then we made it to the Champions League final twice. Most successful period in the club's history, all from everyone saying we were shit and we weren't going to compete for the title, which is the same thing that's happening here. But our team, man for man, is much better than Liverpool's team. I'm sorry, it is. Like, we've got the best number 9 in the Premier League, and I say that and I realise that's a controversial opinion again, but Anthony Martial, I challenge anyone to bring to me an argument telling me who's a better number 9 in the Premier League than him. The only argument I will accept, and I'm talking about this point right now, I'm not talking about the last 5 years. I'm talking about this point right now where we are. Who's a better number 9 than Anthony Martial? The only argument that I will accept is Jamie Vardy. He's a better goal scorer. He probably works a little bit harder. He's not better at many other things, but that is the penalty box. The penalty box striker is a very important. It's an important attribute, and Martial doesn't really have that as much as someone like Jamie Vardy does. But Harry Kane, no, I'm sorry, he's just not a better footballer at this point. Lacazette, no. Tammy Abraham, no. Maybe in the future. Timo Werner, well, maybe, but is he an out-and-out number 9? I think that's still sort of yet to be seen, and how is he going to play in the Premier League? So I think we've got the best number 9 in the Premier League, got a fantastic number 10, got a great all-round midfield. All we need to do is sign a centre-back, and then probably someone to rotate on the right wing. You know, if it's Jadon Sancho, then it's Jadon Sancho. But we are title contenders with a centre-back. I'm telling you that now. And talking about Chelsea, look at this. I mean, this is an article by The Sun, but it's a factual article. If you look at this formation here, look at the amount of strength and depth they've got. Mason Mount, one of the most underrated English players. Everyone's talking about Grealish and Maddison. They're sleeping on this guy. Quality player. And look at the signings they've made. Everyone's saying, why are they spending so much money? Well, they had a transfer ban and they sold Eden Hazard. And 143 million for the way he's played at Real Madrid, that's a bargain in anyone's book. So you look at the quality they've got all over the pitch. I mean, Thiago Silva, that's a signing that could flop. He's quite old now to suddenly adapt to the Premier League, but he's a defensive leader. He's good positionally, and I think he'll complement Rudiger's abilities quite well. Pulisic is quality and is only going to get better. Like, people who don't realise what a good player he is or say that he's not an adequate replacement for Eden Hazard, you don't know what you're talking about. You're not watching him play. I would go as far to say the player that he is this season is far better than the player that Hazard is this season. So they've done the right thing by signing him and then selling Hazard. Ziyech is quality. And realistically, Hudson-Odoi will cover both sides. Mount can play wide as well. So they do have cover in these areas. They've got excellent strength and depth. The only question really is the keeper. He's not a good keeper, I don't think. But this is a title challenging team. I'm just going to put it out there straight right now. And it's young as well. It's younger than Liverpool's team on average. People want to talk about Liverpool and how they've got this original system, but it doesn't age well, does it? You look at Atletico Madrid when they won La Liga a few years ago. Look at them now. They're shit. They've never recovered from that because they had to sell some of their best players, and they were just a workman-like team that had a system that worked really well at that particular time. But that's all it is. Liverpool took advantage of a terrible Premier League season. So I think Chelsea and Man United are going to battle it out. Like, I've got this Mohamed Salah tab up here. And obviously he's played less games this season than he has in the previous two. But look at his goal scoring stats. They've gradually declined. And they're going to decline again. I'm just telling you that now. History tells us that's what happens. Especially a player like that he's a winger. And his conversion rate isn't that good. He misses a lot of chances. So I 100% think the top 4 is not going to change this season. So this top 4 here, not going to change. However, I believe Man City will finish 4th because they might get Koulibaly, but Chris Smalling looks like Yap Stam in Serie A. So I think Man City will finish 4th. I think Liverpool will finish 3rd. And I think Chelsea and United will be in a close title race, and I think Chelsea are going to just nab it. I do think they will. I think they've just got a little more than us this year. And it hurts me to say that, because when I was growing up, I was sort of in the when Mourinho had Chelsea, and I really didn't like that team. But we have to admit when a team is just incredible, and look at that. Look at that starting lineup. Like, they might not be loads better than Man United or anyone else player for player, but just look at the strength and depth, and look at the youth. Like Werner, Mount, Abraham. Havertz is relatively young, I believe. Chilwell's in his prime. Rudiger's in his prime. Reece James, very young, very good. Emerson, quite young, looks pretty good. This is difficult. Liverpool, I've not got nothing against Liverpool, and I will quite happily eat my words. If they go and do exactly the same thing again, then all power to them. I do believe at that point they're one of the best teams in Premier League history. To go and get that amount of points 3 years in a row, all power to Liverpool if they can do that. But I don't think they will, and history has shown us that that kind of form is not something that you can maintain. It's just not. Look at the age of their team. Look at the age of their team. So once again, Liverpool fans, don't be mad. I'm just saying it how I see it. And, you can come back to this video in a year's time if I'm completely wrong. But I do believe that I'll be proven right. And I've kind of outlined why I think that. The youth is on our side. The youth is on Chelsea's side. The youth is not on Liverpool's side. And it's not on Man City's side either. They're both teams that are now going to enter a transition. Man City are already in transition, and they're not going to get out of it. Liverpool, I believe, this season will enter a slight transitional phase. Because some of these players, well, a lot of these players, are not going to be as good as they were the year before. The system isn't going to work as well. If you look at how they've been playing since lockdown, that's a sign of things to come. Like, look at their recent form. They've not been as dominant. They don't look as invincible. Yeah, they might have still a lot of possession all the time, but they look more vulnerable. They're not creating chances as easily. And that's a theme that we will see continue. Anyways, guys, it's going to come across as a radical opinion, but thanks very much for listening to this. It's been about sort of the length that I wanted it to be, so I'm going to call it quits now. But tell me what you think. What's going to happen in the 20 to 21 Premier League season? Please tell me, because I'm very interested to hear other people's opinions. And if you come up to me and start saying I'm wrong, please try to tell me why. Please try to tell me why. Like, I've illustrated why I think what I think. So don't just leave comments saying, oh, you're an idiot, or you're a United fan, or you're biased. Tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me why I'm wrong. Anyways, as always, like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it on social media. Peace.